Wouldn't it have been embarrassing to display a painting like that on the front porch? My daughter-in-law, Macy, who had sold my prize painting on a flea market app without my permission, stated flatly. My mother had done a colored pencil drawing of Gerberis for me from her hospital bed before she died. That drawing was a memento of my late mother. I know, but I can't hang an amateur drawing because it's too shabby, Macy insisted. Do you think you should talk to me like that, even though you were my daughter-in-law? I said boldly, but Macy was unfazed. She drew her arms across her chest and stared at me. Please consider your position. We will be taking care of you in the future, right? It's that deciding line again. So, you're allowed to sell my belongings without my permission. I'm your one and only son's wife. Think about how much we're going to take care of you, Macy retorted. She gave me one more look before walking out the door, her luxury brand shoes clacking. I'd be moving into a new house alone the next day. Macy knew this and sold the painting to harass me. Henry, my son, and Macy, my daughter-in-law, had sold my belongings without my permission before. I was furious but resigned to the fact that I would never get them back. But I'll never forgive her for selling my mother's mementos. Both Macy and Henry, who was always at her disposal, irritated me. I decided to completely cut ties with my son and his wife when I moved into my new house tomorrow. My husband's son and wife can live in this old house. I am Amy, a 50-year-old housewife. For years, I did all of the housework while working part-time at a factory. I looked after my family, which includes my husband, my only son, and as of 3 years ago, my daughter-in-law, Macy. My mother, who raised me as a single mother, died 6 months ago. She left me a large sum of money from her life insurance policy. I took advantage of the opportunity to purchase a small new house and decided to divorce my husband, with whom I had a strained relationship. The day before I moved in, Macy sold my mother's painting without my permission. When I told my husband we were splitting up, he simply said, "Do whatever you want." During our many years as a couple, our relationship had cooled. I believe neither of us did anything wrong and that what happened was unavoidable. My son and his wife, who lived with us, were the ones who were against my leaving. Who will do the housework if you leave? Aren't you a housewife? My son asked. I am a civil servant like Henry, so I am not like you, who only works part-time, I retorted. It's appalling to hear a mother throw her family out of the house, my son's wife chimed in. They both continued to complain as I was packing. First and foremost, why are you buying a house now? My son questioned. It's the money my mother left me, and it's up to me what I do with it, I replied firmly. When the insurance money arrives, you should put it to good use for your family. A house where you'll live alone is squandering money, my son's wife added. She's right, you should have shared grandmother's insurance money with us, my son insisted. Henry's wife was a brand-obsessed woman who never washed a single pair of underwear and was constantly taking dance, yoga, English conversation, and other classes. My son, who was at her beck and call, blamed me all at the same time. This was enough for me. My friend Jane, who lives near my new house, invited me over the night I moved in to join her for dinner. Thank you very much. I still haven't unpacked anything, I said gratefully. Jane's house is magnificent. She and her husband both love dogs, so they built a house to accommodate a large dog. In fact, 3 Dobermans are currently resting quietly in the living room's corner. While eating a hamburger Jane had prepared for me, I opened up to her about Henry and Macy. What's the deal with your daughter-in-law? And I'm sorry, but your son is also pitiful, Jane remarked. Henry used to be a stronger person, but now he's at the mercy of his wife. I'm tired of it, I sighed, feeling a sense of frustration. One of the large dogs approached me and nuzzled my feet, as if to console me. It was Hannah, the female of the 3 Dobermans. Hannah is much gentler than my son. All of our dogs are smart and good, I said, petting her gently. Jane, being so good with dogs, used to be a trainer. Her 3 new dogs, although large and scary in appearance, were really gentle and extremely intelligent. They would never attack anyone, but they would bark at uninvited guests if Jane instructed them to. I wish I had a dog as gentle as Hannah is, I remarked. Why don't you get yourself one? I'll train it for you. Indeed, you're free to do whatever you want as of today in your new house. You begin a new life, isn't that right? Jane suggested. I thought so too. Macy and I are moving to my parents' house next month, I shared. At the end of the month, my son called me with surprising news. I had just gotten used to living alone and was starting to enjoy my independence, I reflected. Your parents' house? "Oh, you're moving to Macy's parents' house," my son said. "No, it's my mother's house, my home. You already live at your father's house," I clarified. I wasn't sure what he was saying, but I knew one thing for certain. I was ready for this new chapter in my life. I spoke with Macy after realizing that my parents' house belonged solely to my mother, not my father. We decided to move to her house. "No, my house isn't big enough for the three of us," Macy objected. I was adamant about not putting up with Henry and Macy bossing me around and making me do all of the housework. "But one of the rooms does have a place to sleep. You can sleep in the living room corner, and we can use that space as our bedroom," Macy suggested. "Don't be ridiculous. What are you talking about? You want me to sleep in the living room corner?" I could feel my face getting hot with rage. "We're coming even if you don't like it. I'll start by shipping you a couple of boxes," Henry interjected. "I'm not going to accept them," I retorted. "Well then, I'll think of something. Anyway, I'm coming, so please look after me," Henry said abruptly, then hung up the phone. I don't want this. I despise the idea of Henry and Macy bossing me around and forcing me to do all the housework. That is something I will not allow to happen, I declared to Jane the next day as we went to a family restaurant. I wanted her to listen to my story. "I'm sorry, but you have the worst son and daughter-in-law," Jane remarked as she sipped her latte. "You must not accept it under any circumstances. You must politely say no," she continued. "Well, since it is those two, they might hire a moving company. I don't know what to do," I replied, feeling overwhelmed. To wash down my pitiful feelings, I took a sip of jasmine tea. "I enjoy this tea, but it is quite bitter," I remarked. "It is difficult to say no when the movers will come. If we're not careful, we might get into trouble," Jane observed. "We have to do something to make them not want to come to my house. I can't stand the way they're acting," I insisted. "Well, we could ask my children for help," Jane suggested. "What, Hannah and the dogs?" I asked, referring to Jane's 3 kids, her 3 beloved Dobermans. "My dogs will bark, growl, and act out to some extent on command. I could ask them to scare them away or something. In fact, my son has been afraid of dogs since he was a child," Jane explained. "It's difficult to live with a son and his wife who would sell their mother's mementos without permission. So let's come up with something," I agreed. "Thank you very much, Jane," I added, feeling a little relieved as a result of our conversation. When I returned home, I discovered that my son and his wife were serious. 2 large cardboard boxes had been stacked in front of the front door. "These are Henry's and my possessions. We thought you would refuse the courier, so I brought them. We will move in next month, so please keep them in the house. Macy," I read the note attached to the cardboard box, feeling my shoulders slump in disappointment. With no other option, I brought the box inside, and upon opening it, I discovered numerous personal belongings belonging to Henry and Macy. There were Henry's imported watches and leather jackets, alongside Macy's designer bags, clothes, and shoes. They must have left behind valuable items, which I wouldn't discard without permission. It felt like a dirty move. How little they must think of me to sell off my mother's paintings or leave this luggage without my permission. Jane's voice from the family restaurant came to mind. "Well, we could ask my children for help," she had suggested. Since settling in after the move, I occasionally accompanied Jane on dog walks. She often invites me for a change of scenery, being a great friend to have. It means a lot to me. "Why don't you sell their belongings?" "Macy would sell them on her own, wouldn't she?" Jane proposed. "Yes, even the memento my mother painted," I'd replied as Moon, a male dog, looked at me from the end of the leash I was holding. "By the way, why do your son and his wife want to live with you? They're both government employees and have money, so why don't they just live together?" Jane inquired. "They don't like doing housework, especially Macy because she's always learning, going out to play, or watching fashion and makeup videos." "So, you've been doing all the housework by yourself?" I confirmed. "Yes, my husband never did it, and Henry works overtime and travels a lot, and Macy is the same way," I explained, recalling the conversation between my son and his wife on the day. I made the announcement of my departure from our home, met with immediate concern about who would handle the housework. "If you leave the house, who will do the housework?" Henry asked. "Well, you can," I replied. "No, obviously not. I want your mother to do it." Jane sighed in disgust upon hearing this. It wasn't until a week later that I received several phone calls from Macy, who had been persistently trying to reach me. Your house is quite small, right? Macy finally asked after dozens of calls. Yes, that's what I said, I confirmed. Henry said he saw you with 3 big dogs, and I wonder if 3 dogs like that could live in a small house. Macy expressed her concern. Her fear of dogs struck me then. There are people all over the world who are terrified of dogs. One of them is Henry, I realized. Jane must have been with me when Henry saw her, but he must have been completely distracted by the dogs. I told you it's a small house. If you're worried, why don't you come back and take a look? I suggested. I will. I want to check the inside of the house. Macy's voice unraveled a little. Finally, Macy decided that there was no dog in the house. Anyway, I'll be there this Sunday at 10 a.m., she said before hanging up. Unexpectedly, I realized I could take my revenge. On Sunday, Henry and Macy came to my house as planned. You really came? I asked, surprised. I said I would come. You know it's because you bought the house on a whim that we're in this messy situation, Macy remarked as they took off their shoes and entered the house. That's really true. You should have stayed quiet and continued to do the housework like before, I replied, feeling a sense of satisfaction. Okay, that's it, I said, opening the living room door, gloating in my mind. Whoa! Ah! My son and his wife screamed in unison the next moment. There were 2 Dobermans, Moon and Sky, sitting there. What are you kidding me, Mother? This dog, Henry began. These are my dogs. Aren't they cute? Jane the dog trainer interrupted, standing up from the sofa and smiling at me. Jane found them for me. They are so cute because they are well trained. Moon, Sky, how do you say hello to our guests? The dogs barked at the same time. Macy said, oh no, and sat down with her head in her hands. Is she that bad with dogs? I wondered. Oh, they are so cute, Henry exclaimed. Don't worry, Moon, Sky, play with them, Jane encouraged. At the sound of her voice, the 2 dogs ran over to Henry and Macy respectively. They raised their paws, wagging their tails as if to say, let's play. Stop. Oh no, I'm scared, Macy exclaimed, shaking her head and beginning to wriggle as Moon invited her to play. But Macy didn't understand. I'm scared of dogs, Macy exclaimed, her fear evident as she burst into tears, snot running out of her nose. Oh dear, if you're going to live in my house, you'll have to get along with these kids too. Make them stop, I insisted. Macy's breakdown ruined the makeup she had studied on YouTube and was so proud of. Her mascara was running, and the smudged eyeshadow spread to her cheeks. With this tear-streaked face, she looked like she was about to take the train home. Hey Mom, do something about it, Henry pleaded. Meanwhile, Henry, who had been jostled by the much larger Sky, fell on his backside and began to scoot away. Sky, thinking he was playing, happily jumped on Henry. No, stop it. The dog is too big and scary, Henry cried out. I suddenly looked at Henry's jeans and saw that the color of his crotch had darkened a bit. He was so afraid of the dog that he had peed himself. How pathetic. Moon, Sky, come here. Jane decided it was time to stop and called the dogs. Immediately, the 2 dogs left Henry and Macy and returned to her. Moon, Sky, down, Jane commanded, and with that one word, the dogs lay down at her feet. They really are smart kids, I remarked, feeling proud of my dog's obedience. Until now, even though I've been slaving away at my part-time job and housework, you've never helped me. Besides, when I said I was going to leave, you decided to live on your own. Do you think your mother is stupid? I finally spat out the words I had been holding back as my son and his wife stood up, crying. I left home because I was fed up with you. I am not your housekeeper, I declared firmly. But doesn't that mean you have to? Henry began before I interrupted him. He's a well-trained and smart dog and much gentler than you, I retorted, gesturing towards Moon and Sky, who were calmly lying down. Henry and Macy lacked their usual air of bravado, a husband with a wet crotch and a wife whose makeup was a mess. They made the perfect couple. You also sold off my precious things without my permission. I will never forgive you for selling my mother's painting, I added, looking at Moon and Sky before turning my gaze back to my son and his wife. A house with 2 dogs this big is something we don't want. Henry agreed. That's right, we'll give up moving. So give me back the stuff we left behind the other day, then we'll go home, Macy demanded. They're still in the boxes in the next room. Take it and get out of here, I replied, pointing to the next room. Henry and Macy took a wide turn to avoid the dogs before opening the door. Whoa, They both screamed again and fell on their butts as they saw another Doberman, Hannah, sitting right next to the boxes in the room. Mom, the boxes, please get them, Macy pleaded. I don't want to. You brought them yourself, so take them yourself, I insisted. Peeking into the room, I saw Hannah just sitting there with a calm expression on her face. I can't go near a dog like that, Macy protested. Then give up your stuff, I replied firmly. You mean I should leave it? My bags and Henry's watches are in that box, Macy argued. You also got rid of my precious things without my permission, didn't you? I reminded her. I didn't ask you to leave them behind. I'm telling you, take it with you, I insisted firmly, glaring at Macy. She paused for a moment, perhaps remembering the presence of the dogs, and then lowered her eyes with a sigh. Please, Mother, bring us the boxes, Macy finally relented, her tone softer. You knew how important that painting that she sold off was to me, but you didn't stop her, I reminded her. Well, I'm sorry about that, but, Macy began, but she was interrupted by Jane's arrival. Hannah, how do we greet our guests? Jane asked calmly. Immediately, Hannah sat down and barked loudly. No, stop it, Macy cried out. Hearing Hannah's voice, my son and his wife reached their limit. With his wet jeans and her face covered in smudged makeup, they ran to the front door and got out of the house. After that, I sold all the personal belongings Henry and Macy had left behind to a pawn shop. I discovered that their belongings were of considerable luxury, with Henry's watch having a surprisingly high value and Macy's bag being of a particularly high class. The extravagance of these items left me in a state of dismay. Back at her house, Macy ended up being responsible for all the household chores. My former husband did not like Macy's housework. He constantly complained that the food was bad, the house was dirty, and the laundry was piled up. Macy could no longer go to her lessons because of her housework, and she gained 10 kilograms due to the stress. All of her frustration seemed to be directed at Henry. Mom, I'm at my limit, Macy finally admitted, starting to hit me. She's been fighting with Dad all the time. I want a divorce. One day, Henry called me, his voice exhausted. You chose your own wife, didn't you? You can take care of yourself. Of course, I would not give advice to Henry. I was sick and tired of being involved with that couple. Meanwhile, I bought a female Shiba Inu and asked Jane to train her. She's going to be a great dog. Jane smiled as she patted the head of the puppy I named Rio. Really, it's all thanks to you. I'm sorry for making the dogs play such an unpleasant role. Okay, I replied. When I heard what you said, I was more upset than you were. But from now on, you and Rio can live together peacefully. Yes, from now on, I will enjoy my life and my time, I affirmed, feeling determined as I gently picked up the puppy. I'm sorry, I've got an amazing fiancé now. Are you jealous? Envious? Her once cute face now appeared distorted before me, not just to me but to my sister and her husband as well. They had always looked down on my husband. My anger reached its peak, surpassing the limit of my patience. My name is Luna. I work at a printing company and I'm 27 years old. Although I work with printing, I'm not operating large machines. I work in the design department, crafting various flyers and catalogs while listening to customer requests. Recently, with the advancement of stylization, the number of prints has decreased, but the design work remains busy and rewarding. Thankfully, I have more customers requesting me specifically. The flyer for the recent Christmas event was a big hit. It was so cute. Such compliments truly make me happy. This job feels like a life purpose for me. I thought I would remain single, dedicating my life to work until one day my father was hospitalized for appendicitis. During a visit to see him, a young doctor named James approached me and asked, "Hello, are you here to visit someone?" It turns out he is my current boyfriend and recently became my fiancé. You never know when and where life will bring unexpected encounters. Despite being devoted to work, as soon as marriage was brought up, I found myself buying wedding magazines. I guess I'm also getting carried away, sitting in the living room flipping through a magazine while having tea. Then it happened, a hand suddenly reached out, snatching the magazine away. Hey, wait a minute, what's this? A wedding magazine. Why are you looking at something like this? It has nothing to do with you, Mary, I said as my younger sister took the magazine from me. You getting married? Seriously. Look in the mirror first, will you? You should know your place. You don't even have a boyfriend, let alone getting married. On the other hand, she continued, I've never been without a boyfriend. Oh, speaking of which, my current boyfriend. Mary always had this habit of bragging about her boyfriend. Unlike me, with my plain face, my sister has always been cute and popular. People around her always indulged her, except for our parents and me. Everyone around her was always a yes man. As a result, my sister started thinking of herself as the center of the world. The arrogant sister I grew up with began looking down on me. Stay away from me. Your face might drop off on me. No matter how much you study, what's that brain of yours? You won't catch a guy. Why don't you give up on pointless efforts? Oh, I got asked that again. It's so tough being popular. I envy my sister, who doesn't get any attention at all. She would continue saying such things, even if our parents scolded her severely. It was already too late. Her personality remained unchanged, and the verbal abuse towards me never stopped. Growing up, my sister now refers to me as you. Tired of my sister bragging about her boyfriend, I sighed and mustered up the courage to speak. I do have a boyfriend. In fact, we're engaged. We're getting married soon, so I'm looking at wedding magazines. My sister's movements abruptly stopped at those words. After staring at me intently, she smirked with a sarcastic smile. Oh, really? So you managed to find a guy? What's so great about you anyway? He likes my energetic and cheerful personality. That's a lie. You're probably just being treated like a maid. I'll continue working, and he understands that I can't be a perfect housewife. As I said that, my sister exaggeratedly acted surprised. Ha! You're getting married and still planning to work? How quaint, marrying a poor man. Her words struck a nerve. She just couldn't stop looking down on me. Money is not an issue. He's a doctor, so there's no problem with income. I just want to continue working. As I retorted, my sister fell silent immediately. I sighed with relief and returned to my room. Oh, a doctor, I see, my sister muttered those words with a meaningful tone. When marriage is on the table, the first thing to do is to meet with our parents. James came to my house. After greeting my parents, the relaxed atmosphere instantly changed the moment my sister appeared. Oh, is that the person you're engaged to? Quite handsome, isn't he, Mary? Weren't you out? I interjected. Of course, when my sister's fiancé is coming, I had to cancel my plans. Unbeknownst to her, I was relieved that she wasn't there by chance. It was because I had a bad feeling about it. It had happened several times in the past. When I was still a student, my sister stole my boyfriend. After becoming a working adult, I didn't have a boyfriend, and my sister kept making one after another, so such a thing didn't occur again. Although I felt uneasy about my sister coming back, she had grown up as well. I wanted to believe that she wouldn't do something like stealing my fiancé. My sister was oddly close to my fiancé. I couldn't help but notice a blush on James's cheeks. My bad feeling. Can we pretend that engagement never happened? I've decided to break up with you and start dating Mary. My sister's words hit the mark perfectly. Never did I imagine that even as a working adult, my boyfriend would be stolen by my own sister. I'm sorry I took your fiancé, but it can't be helped, right? After all, I'm cuter and more charming, and James' pursuit was so intense. Oh, being cute is such a crime. My sister's words, far from an apology, dripped with condescension. Beside her, James, once my fiancé, laughed and said, seriously, who would have known that you had such a cute sister? If I had known, I wouldn't have gotten engaged to you. It's a good thing we're breaking up before getting married. The moment I saw that twisted smile on his face, any feelings I had for him vanished without a trace. All that remained was a sense of disgust. I'm glad I didn't marry someone like you, a man who easily moves on to another woman. Here, take Mary as a parting gift. You're just a sore loser. Seriously, you're not attractive at all. I'm not saying this out of spite, but I genuinely mean it. It seemed that the two of them, lost in their own delusions, didn't understand how I felt. It's a waste of time being involved with you two. Goodbye. You're just making excuses for losing. You're the waste of time here. I never want to see you again. Goodbye. They left, looking down on me until the very end. After that, due to my enraged parents, they were banned from seeing our family, so I never met them again. However, I heard through rumors that they got married, but I don't really care anymore. 3 years had passed since I parted ways with my sister and her husband, and I turned 30 while diligently working as ever. In the midst of it, there was one customer who took a liking to my work and became a repeat client. His name was William. As we talked during work, for some reason, he asked me out for a meal, and then he asked me out on a date. On one of our dates, he asked me to be in a relationship with him. Honestly, I was really happy. William seemed very sincere, and I believed he wouldn't repeat the same mistakes as my previous boyfriend. But deep down, my sister had become quite a trauma for me. Maybe, just maybe, somewhere it bothered me a little. So, I decided to be honest and told him about my sister, about my former fiancé. I even showed him a picture of my sister and looked at his reaction. But even after seeing her photo, his expression didn't change at all. He casually glanced away from the photo and gave me a gentle smile. I know it might sound strange to say this, but I used to be quite popular. I've met many women who were cuter and more beautiful than your sister. But for some reason, none of them sparked my interest. I used to think that maybe I would remain single and unmarried for the rest of my life, but that wasn't the case. What do you mean? I asked, curious. I believe that due to my line of work, I have an eye for people. No matter how beautiful someone is or how well dressed they are, they can't match their inner beauty. I realized that when I met you, Luna. What do you mean? I stammered. I thought you were shining brightly, William said sincerely. When we talk about work, you're vibrant and beautiful. I thought you were wonderful, not just during work, but when we're having a meal or going on a date. You always smile and enjoy our time together. I could tell that you genuinely enjoy life, William confessed earnestly. And I thought you were dazzlingly beautiful. What? What? Wait, this is so embarrassing, I stuttered in my flustered state. But William continued, undeterred. Luna, you're beautiful, more beautiful and charming than anyone else. I've never met a more wonderful woman than you. Please consider being in a relationship with me with marriage as a possibility. I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. Stop, it's too embarrassing. I can't take it anymore. I blushed and tried to stop him. But William's words didn't cease. In the end, even after agreeing to date, he continued showering me with such heartfelt words for a while. So embarrassing, I thought to myself. 1 year later, William and I got married, becoming a happily married couple. Our newlywed life was going well, and I felt like we became even closer than before we got married. We shared household chores whenever we could. Since my husband had been living alone for a long time, he might be better at housework than me. His homemade meals when I was tired were incredibly delicious. On our days off, we often went out together. One day, on a day off when he said he wanted to look at furniture, something unexpected happened. It was the reunion with the devil that felt like a nightmare. Oh, well, I thought as I saw a plain-looking woman. It's you. I heard a voice from behind as I was looking at the bedding section. I didn't need to see her face to know who it was. Even though 4 years had passed since we last met, there was no way I could forget her. Mary, my sister, stood there, and beside her was my former fiancé, James. My sister's features seemed sharper than before. Was it due to age, or had her personality simply come to the forefront? Standing beside her, James wore a smirk, though it seemed he had lost weight. Meeting you here, huh? What are you doing? My sister asked, her tone dripping with condescension. Nothing special. I just came to look at furniture, I replied evenly. This place has a lot of imported goods and is expensive, you know. It's not a place for someone like you. I'm tired of your condescending attitude, James chimed in, standing beside her. Exactly. If someone like you keeps coming and going, it will lower the store's value. We might be mistaken for being poor too. Just go home already. Their rude remarks irritated me, but engaging with them would be a waste of time. I maintained my silence. However, it seemed my attitude didn't sit well with them as my sister and her husband's voices grew louder. I hate it. Our precious high-end store is ruined. Why would such poor people come here? They can't afford anything anyway. That's right, that's right. Poor people, go home, they continued loudly. Other customers and store employees glanced at us, wondering what was going on. Fed up, I took my husband's hand and tried to leave. But he didn't move. Finally noticing my husband's presence, my sister and her husband looked at him. Oh, what are you to her? My sister asked, her eyes widening. Luna's husband. Ha, can you marry this plain girl? Seriously, you're brave, James scoffed. Did you need a housemate or something? That's hilarious. I also do housework. It's only natural since we both work. I'm living comfortably as a full-time housewife. More than half of my week is spent eating out, and I rely on housekeeping services, I explained calmly. Sorry for being part of the winning team, my sister retorted with a sarcastic tone, stretching her words, which only fueled my frustration. She grinned at me. Sorry I stole your wonderful fiancé. Thanks to that, you'll have a poor life even after marriage, right? And to top it off, you're marrying such a plain guy. You two are a perfect match, both plain and unremarkable. Aren't you envious of my happiness? Jealous, aren't you? Haha, marrying a man who can't support his wife is just like you. You'll struggle for the rest of your life, losers. I had reached my limit. I could bear it when they spoke ill of me, but to speak ill of my husband as well? There was no way I could tolerate it. Listen, that's enough. I finally spoke up. Luna, it's fine. My husband stepped forward in front of me. Nice to meet you. I'm William, the one who married your sister. What a lame name, my sister sneered. Well, I understand, William replied calmly, handing his business card to James. As James took the offered card, my husband glanced at my sister-in-law. You say really mean things to Luna, don't you? Because they're true. I'm just abiding by the law that says I can call an ugly woman ugly. That's my law, my sister fired back. Such a law doesn't exist. And for me, you're much uglier than you think, William retorted calmly but firmly. Let's say it's the ugliness of your character. You seem to have confidence in your appearance, but you don't realize that your twisted personality, which can only look down on others, is reflected on the outside. While his tone remained polite, his words were quite harsh. My sister's face quickly turned bright red. Don't mess with me. How am I ugly? Everything about you is. In the first place, beautiful people don't envy their sisters and steal their fiancés, William countered. What? When did I envy my sister? My sister protested. People aspire to get close to and surpass their admired figures. Isn't Luna such a figure for you? That's ridiculous, William concluded firmly. I was surprised, not just by my husband's words, but also by my sister's reaction. I had never considered it that way before. My sister had always looked down on me, but seeing her unsettled, I started to wonder if there was a possibility. If it's someone who doesn't matter, someone you don't care about, you can just ignore them. Even if Luna brings any kind of partner, you shouldn't have thought of taking them away. After all, they are not someone you found yourself. Taking someone else's position stems from jealousy towards something you can't obtain, no matter how hard you try, my husband calmly stated. I'm saying I'm not jealous, my sister retorted defensively. By taking something away, you want to have that confidence that you are superior to the other person, right? In other words, you lack confidence. Confident people can live proudly without doing such things. That's not true. My sister desperately refuted, but her voice gradually lost strength. Breaking the momentary silence, James suddenly shouted loudly with a pale face, "This name." She alternated between looking at the business card and her husband's face, then shook her shoulders. What is it now? I asked. This name, I felt like I recognized it, so I looked it up. And, William Brown. So what? She trailed off, her expression turning uncertain. Where I work, huh? Hospital. If I remember correctly, it's Brown Medical Corporation. A chairman and director, Dr. Brown. He's their son. Huh? What? Mary's voice faltered. It's a common surname, so it must be someone else, right? James interjected nervously. I've seen him come to the hospital a few times, together with the chairman. I saw them from a distance, as I didn't remember it well. But when I thought I had seen him somewhere, he's supposed to be a doctor, right? The company name on that business card. It doesn't mean that a doctor's son has to become a doctor. And this company, it's a super famous pharmaceutical company. I think the previous generation retired, and the grandson took over, I speculated. Hello, I'm that grandson, a voice interrupted. Mary and James panicked, and my husband bowed politely. What? What did you say? Mary gasped. James faltered, his face pale. My husband calmly explained, I met Luna through the work I was doing until I took over my grandfather's job. I've heard about you, but it's beyond imagination how cruel you are. I interjected, my voice steady. James stammered, shifting uncomfortably. My husband shifted his gaze from my speechless sister to James. A job of helping people requires empathy, but instead of showing empathy, you look down on and ridicule others. Who would want to be treated by a doctor like that? Oh, well, it's just a misunderstanding, James attempted to explain, his face growing even paler. However, in the next moment, my husband's eyes widened with anger. No need for excuses. I'll let my father know about you. Just wait for the consequences. James exclaimed, desperation evident in his voice, while my sister remained stunned. Ignoring their pleas, we turned our backs and left. I knew deep down that we would probably never see them again. With that thought in my heart, I continued walking, refusing to look back. After that incident, James didn't get fired, but he faced a significant pay cut and was removed from responsible tasks. His arrogant attitude towards others and his cold demeanor with patients led to him receiving cold stares from everyone around him. Eventually, unable to handle the situation, he quit his job, leaving under a cloud of rumors within the hospital community, which made it difficult for him to find new employment. He struggled with unemployment in the aftermath. As for my sister, it was revealed that she had always been reckless with money. Despite her high salary, her life became increasingly challenging. This stress visibly affected James, who began to look emaciated rather than just thin. In response to his pay cut, my sister quickly decided to divorce him, believing she could easily find another man. However, things didn't go as planned. When we met again, my sister's once cute face had hardened, revealing her true character. Her prime time for romantic relationships came to an abrupt end. Nobody wanted to be with her. Our parents later informed me that she had complained, "I'm so cute, so why won't anyone spoil me?" She became fixated on surpassing me, driven by some internal need to prove herself. My husband speculated that deep down, my sister actually admired me, though her actions were unforgivable. Eventually, she faced the consequences of her own choices, even being rejected by our parents when she sought their help. She disappeared into the nightlife, and we never heard of her again. Free from the curse of my sister and her husband, I enjoyed peaceful days, a calm married life, and a fulfilling job that ignited my passion every day. Soon, we would become a family of 3. As I gazed at the computer monitor, I gently rubbed my growing belly, filled with anticipation for the future. My name is Ava, and with the slightest change in climate, my rural home becomes infested with insects every year. I put my heart and soul into pest control. At 34 years old, I've transformed from a housewife into nothing less than a hunter. Once upon a time, bugs used to scare me. I used to say such things without any embarrassment. But once I passed 30, I started facing them with a poker face. Indeed, I've become quite tough. Today, I'd like to share a story about how I dealt with my younger sister who fell in love with my husband. This happened years ago, back when I was in my 20s. A junior high school reunion was held for the first time in many years, where I reconnected with my childhood friend Josh, who used to live in my neighborhood during elementary school. My sister Emily, 2 years younger than me, and I used to play with Josh a lot. But as typical boy sentiments grew stronger, playing with girls became embarrassing for him. Josh distanced himself from us when his family moved away in junior high, and we lost touch. At the reunion, I was nervous when reconnecting with Josh, but adulthood brought its strong ally, alcohol. Josh, loosened by its power, and I, emboldened by the same, had a lively conversation that was hard to believe after such a long time apart. We continued to party together, and by the end of the night, Josh confessed, "I used to like you when we were kids, and it seems like I can still like you as an adult." With this light-hearted exchange, our relationship began. Later, when sober, Josh joked, "Man, I said too much. Am I embarrassing? Who the hell do I think I am?" I couldn't help but laugh at his embarrassment. Everything fell into place, and we decided to get married. We visited each other's homes and completed the formalities for cohabitation and marriage planned for 6 months later. However, a problem arose at my house when Josh came to meet my family over a meal. As my sister returned home from work with a deflated voice, her surprise at seeing Josh turned quickly into a happy expression. "Wow, Josh, why are you here?" Embarrassed, Josh glanced at me and then explained, "Actually, we've been dating for about half a year now, and we've decided to get married. I came here today to inform our parents." I thought I should explain to my family, so I told my sister the circumstances. Her face turned visibly grim. "I see. I'm tired, so I'm going to bed. Good night," she said abruptly, retreating to her room and slamming the door shut. Wow, that was unpleasant," I said to Josh, worried that I had made him uncomfortable. But he reassured me with a smile. "I'm not bothered by it." Wanting to clear things up for my sister's sake, I added, "She's not usually like that. Maybe she's just not happy about us living together." Even our parents didn't show any problems, so I couldn't understand my sister's strong reaction. Still puzzled, I debated whether to ask her directly, but as I headed to the bath, I ran into her in the hallway. I started, unsure how to begin, as she fixed me with a devilish glare. "I can't believe you're marrying Josh. I've always loved him too. I'll never forgive you for this." With the rage of a demon, she stumped away, leaving me staring at her unexpected confession. Seriously, she was in love with Josh. I muttered to myself, feeling like the plot was straight out of a daytime drama, holding my head in disbelief. After a night of restless tossing and turning, I finally found clarity. Is it really a problem if my sister loves my fiancé? After all, our marriage is already decided. If Josh had loved my sister, it would have been a different story. But that's not the case. More importantly, if she's felt this way since childhood, she should have told him sooner. Realizing it was my sister's failure to express her feelings that caused this turmoil, I decided it was absurd for her to blame me. Though I could sense her growing hostility towards me as her older sister, I chose to let it slide. Despite the gravity of the situation, I opted for an optimistic view and decided to let it go. However, I was torn about whether to tell Josh. On one hand, revealing my sister's feelings might complicate things for Josh, I reasoned. But if I don't tell him, he'll sense the tension whenever he visits without understanding why. Considering Josh's involvement, I ultimately decided honesty was the best policy. I have to tell him, I resolved. When I finally did, Josh listened attentively and reassured me, "Tell me if anything happens. I'll handle it." "True, it's a sister issue," I acknowledged, relieved by Josh's understanding. "If she gets too aggressive, maybe he'll use you as a shield," I joked nervously. "Don't joke like that," Josh chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. With our decision made, neither of us wavered in our commitment to marry. Convincing my sister was not our aim. We simply accepted the situation. From then on, as expected, my sister's animosity towards me only grew. On one occasion, after she used the bathroom before me, she left it messy without cleaning up. "This isn't a big deal. It's just a shower," I sighed, trying to brush it off. I could even afford to joke about how cute my little sister was for pulling such a modest, shabby prank. However, having my makeup and wallet hidden before heading to work was a real blow. "I don't have time for a treasure hunt in the morning," I muttered, desperately searching for them. Trembling at the thought of being late, I barely made it to work on time twice in 1 week. "You're not slacking off with your wedding coming up, are you?" My boss eyed me coldly, adding to my frustration. "I won't forgive her." No, I'm the big sister. I should forgive her. But I won't. No, I muttered to myself, conflicted. Initially, my parents were unaware of my sister's harassment, but after she started hiding my valuables, they began to notice something was off. "Why are you doing such childish things?" My mother scolded my sister, though my sister seemed to revel in annoying me. The real issue, however, was my father. Ever since my sister was born and my mother's health declined, he had cared for her as if she were still a newborn. He doted on her more than me, or rather, he was biased towards her. His experience in parenting had made him feel like a mother, and I couldn't fault him for that. I, too, loved my sister, especially considering the tough times we grew up in together. Reflecting on our different treatment, I recall the childhood incident when I had wanted to go to an amusement park, but she had insisted on the aquarium. My father, always siding with her, promptly decided on the aquarium. I remembered my mother, always checking if I was okay with his decisions, asking, "Are you sure it's okay not to go to the amusement park?" Honestly, I don't harbor any bitter memories of my father's favoritism towards my sister, but if my mother hadn't balanced things out, I might have felt inferior. Plus, at the time, even my friends remarked about how my sister received more affection. I didn't dwell on it. I simply accepted that there was a bias in love everywhere. Maybe it's just my inherently optimistic personality. I always look for reasons not to feel down. But this time, my father clearly took my sister's side. Apparently, she accused Josh of stealing her boyfriend, which in my father's eyes painted Josh as the villain. I understood his protective stance, imagining the plight of the sister who was left behind while her elder sister was about to get married. In response to my father's thoughts, my mother intervened, saying, "I don't see Josh as the kind of person who would do such a thing," voicing her skepticism. "No, that's not true. Listen to my opinion," I countered, hoping they would consider both sides fairly. My mother, known for not taking our words at face value and judging us fairly, tried to mediate. But my father's protective instincts overruled reason. "I can't bear to see my poor sister dumped and even my elder daughter being played with," he insisted adamantly. "I won't allow this man to take advantage of my beloved daughters. Wake up." It felt like I was being pushed into a corner. unable to make my voice heard amidst my father's firm convictions. Though he loved us deeply, his favoritism caused a strain this time. The growing opposition to my marriage troubled me deeply. So, I made a decision. I would leave home earlier than planned and live with Josh. Simply put, if the issue stemmed from my sister, distancing myself seemed the best solution. If I'm not at home, I won't be harassed. Problem solved, I reasoned, finding peace in the decision. And indeed, our life together passed peacefully after that. As days went by, my mother softened her stance, acknowledging, I think your side of the story is probably right. You're an adult now. Do as you like, live freely. Surprisingly, my father remained silent, though dissatisfied. Deep down, he probably thought that even if Josh and I broke up, I would be pitiful, and he couldn't fathom Josh turning to my sister. I suppose my father thought it was the best solution. I felt sorry for Josh, unfairly painted as a villain, but with no word from my troublesome sister, I thought everything had settled. Then came the wedding day. As expected, my sister didn't attend, and my father took the opportunity to suggest, it's not too late to reconsider your decision to marry. Marriage comes with all sorts of challenges, so be prepared. My mother, always mild-mannered, added, needless to say, really? In the background, my father looked pale. Not everyone might have blessed us from the bottom of their hearts, but under our parents' watchful eyes, we exchanged vows. The next day, the intercom of our home chimed loudly. What's going on? Josh and I jumped up, rushing to the monitor. To our surprise, my family was visiting us. Dad, Mom, and even Emily. What's going on? I asked, bewildered, as my younger sister glared at me with sharp eyes. I kept quiet, but she continued, I'm pregnant with Josh's child. You have to take responsibility. What does this mean? I blurted out in shock. Fortunately, we don't have a child yet. You can't just force us to break up and marry Josh. Ignoring my protests, she persisted, you should give Josh to her. Confused, my mother intervened, asking, what's going on? Josh, still half asleep, stumbled to the front door behind me. What? My child? He shook his head vehemently. No, it's not like that. We didn't do anything like that. His denial was almost comically emphatic. I know. You should stop this panic. It's suspicious, I added, trying to hold back laughter. How many months pregnant are you? My sister pressed on, undeterred. 2 months. If Josh doesn't take responsibility, this child will be fatherless. Isn't that pitiful, Mom? Startled by my sister's sudden revelation, my mother looked between us, clearly uncertain of how to respond. Josh and I exchanged amused looks, struggling to contain our laughter. Ha ha ha, I chuckled nervously, trying to explain our laughter to our confused parents who couldn't grasp the reason behind it. What are you laughing at? My sister Emily asked, flustered by our sudden outburst. Well, 2 months ago, I started, tears welling up from laughing too hard. We had fun last time, didn't we? Josh interjected, catching my sister off guard with his unexpected question. My parents remained perplexed, their expressions filled with disapproval as they didn't understand Josh's playful intentions. I was probably the only one who caught on to his subtle plan. By the way, Emily, how many abs do I have? Josh continued, throwing another curveball. Ha! Emily looked blank, clearly puzzled. I was on the verge of bursting into laughter again. Josh, are you serious? Talking about your abs like you've lost them, I managed to say between giggles. What are you talking about, Josh? Emily asked, clearly bewildered. The correct answer is 0. I was about to confirm that Josh was just teasing when he solemnly confessed, I actually have no abs. Even my mom couldn't help but chuckle at his antics. It seemed like a contest to see who could make the other laugh the most. Here's question 2. Have you seen my moles? How many do I have in total? Josh continued, his strange questions leaving my sister at a loss for words. Hey, wait, what? Emily stammered, unsure how to respond. Josh persisted with his playful interrogation, leaving my sister flustered. Well, that's to be expected, I thought, seeing Josh's mischievous grin and my sister's confused expression. It was like a game to him, delighting in teasing her and watching her struggle to answer. Despite knowing she could end it by denying everything, Josh seemed to enjoy keeping her on her toes. In fact, even my mother began to suspect something was amiss. Isn't there something odd about their relationship? She murmured quietly, observing the dynamic between my sister and Josh. Of course, I thought, realizing that such banter wouldn't be possible if they were genuinely intimate. Moreover, it would be too embarrassing in front of our parents. The very act of having such a light-hearted conversation was proof that nothing had actually happened between them. Josh was simply enjoying his own way of playfully teasing Emily like a child with a new toy. It was both amusing and slightly unsettling. What a mischievous man he could be. I watched closely, wondering how my sister would react to Josh's playful banter. She pondered the second question, visibly tense. "I'm like 10, she finally answered, nervously guessing. "Buzz, sorry, the correct answer is I don't even know," Josh proclaimed dramatically. Even my father couldn't contain his laughter, doubling over in amusement. At the same time, to cover his amusement, he feigned frustration. "Love is enough, Josh. Don't you dare joke around after causing my daughter such distress," my father interjected sternly, preparing to scold Josh. "Wait, listen," I interjected, trying to diffuse the tension. "You said the pregnancy was 2 months along, right? Considering the conception period, there's no way the child could be Josh's." "What do you mean?" my mother asked, intrigued by my point. Can I say it?" I glanced at Josh, who reluctantly nodded with a deeply embarrassed expression. "Wait, hold on. Can I say it? Can you?" Josh stammered nervously. "Oh yeah, I'll do it," I replied, despite the awkwardness. Josh puffed out his chest bravely. Mom and Dad, the truth is, during that time, I was stung by a bee in a very sensitive area." At this revelation, everyone, even my sister, burst out laughing uncontrollably. "That's enough of the lies, Josh. There's no way you were stung there," my father exclaimed, torn between anger and amusement, while my mother laughed uproariously, clapping her hands. "No, well, it's embarrassing, but it's true," Josh insisted, his face and ears turning bright red rapidly. "It was hot, so I thought I'd cool off. Taking advantage of the fact that I couldn't be seen from outside, I opened the window and was relaxing in the nude when a bee flew in and stung me." I struggled to contain my laughter, trying to respect Josh's embarrassment in front of my family, but it was too hilarious not to join in. "There's no way a man could be that embarrassing," my father chuckled, shaking his head. "Well, that embarrassingly embarrassing man is right here," Josh retorted loudly, trying to defend himself. "That still doesn't prove that the child in my belly isn't from Josh's seed," my sister interjected, regaining her stance and joining the conversation with renewed vigor. "Emily, think about it," I reasoned. "Josh got stung in a very important place. Dad, imagine if that happened to you as a man. You'd understand the pain of having such a vital area harmed." My sister fell silent, considering my serious tone. Meanwhile, my father, who seemed to have visualized the situation based on Josh's explanation, quietly clutched his groin and looked down thoughtfully. Though he tried to maintain a stern face, it was clear he was starting to believe Josh's unlikely tale. "It's a really delicate area for men, so it was tough. I even thought about calling an ambulance," Josh concluded, his embarrassment evident despite his attempt at humor. I couldn't help but respond to Josh's story with embarrassment. "I had a fever, it was tough, and doing the deed in that state would be way too kinky. You can even check with the hospital that took care of me if you want," Josh explained in an almost inaudible voice. To my surprise, my mother burst into laughter. "Josh, didn't you used to have a habit of taking off your swimsuit when you played in a kiddie pool?" she teased, approaching him with playful curiosity. "Why don't you show me where you were stung?" Josh tried to dodge my mother's playful inquiry, covering not his private area, but his irrelevant chest. From what I saw, my mother seemed to fully trust him now, which gave me a sense of relief, although Josh didn't seem to share the same feeling. "Well, I sympathize as a man. I don't think anyone would lie about such an embarrassing thing. There's no need to check with the hospital," my father chimed in, his expression unusually kind towards Josh, as if respecting his dignity. Ironically, it seemed that understanding came quicker among men in this situation. I wondered if this was what they called a blessing in disguise. Amidst this light-hearted banter, I turned to my sister, who stood in a daze. "Even if you lie like this, it won't lead to Josh and me getting divorced. I think you're just making yourself more miserable," I said calmly. "You may not believe me, but I really want you to be happy. After all, you're my only sister." My sister's eyes widened in anger. Shut up, shut up, shut up. I don't like Josh anymore." If he's going to take your side, she snapped, emotional and reaching out to grab me. I don't care if you don't like me. I love Ava, and that's all that matters, Josh firmly asserted, brushing off my sister's hand. I consider Emily a precious childhood friend and now my sister-in-law. I never have and never will see her as anything more. If you keep repeating these lies, I'll defend Ava with all my strength. I couldn't help but feel moved by his words. He had come a long way from the man who was embarrassed by a bee sting, muttering about the world being his enemy. Watching this unfold, my father intervened. Emily, if you're really pregnant, show us your medical records or something, he requested, his tone serious. With that, my parents made it clear they had believed Emily's pregnancy claims without any basis. I appreciated their unquestioning trust in their children, though this time it seemed to have backfired. If you've lied, you owe both of them an apology, my mother added sternly. My sister, visibly shaken and biting her lip, turned away with tears in her eyes. My father moved to follow her, but my mother stopped him. Let her go and cool off, she advised. 2 weeks passed. My sister continued to insist she was pregnant, but my mother finally persuaded her to visit a gynecologist. The diagnosis: no signs of pregnancy and perfectly good health. We're sorry for doubting you and causing you so much trouble, my parents apologized sincerely. We should have trusted Josh, whom we've known for so long. Please take care of Ava and forgive us for making this difficult for you both. They bowed their heads apologetically. To be honest, I could have blamed my parents. I haven't discussed the strained relationship with my sister with my parents. They have always believed in their daughters without question, a quality that society might view in various ways, but for me it has been a source of immense reassurance. Despite occasional favoritism towards my sister, especially from my father, I have come to forgive them for the mistakes they made. They raised me well, and without them, I wouldn't have met Josh or lived such a happy life. When my sister's lie about being pregnant was exposed, she reacted angrily, declaring, "I don't need this family anymore," and stormed out of the house. Normally, my father would have gone after her, but this time, he suggested it might be better for Emily to take some time away, a cooling-off period. My mother agreed, adding firmly, "If she can't come back and sincerely apologize, we won't let her back into this house." Deep down, I doubted my sister would ever apologize sincerely. It felt like a definitive break between us. 7 years passed. My sister did return once, bowing her head to her parents and asking to come back. Initially noble in her return, by the end of the year she had caused a significant incident while heavily intoxicated. One tumultuous New Year's Eve, she sneaked into Josh's bed, mistaking it for mine, and startled him awake. Both of us, along with our parents, were shocked by the disturbance. "Don't approach him," I warned her angrily. Josh, startled, exclaimed loudly enough to wake the neighbors. "Oh!" My parents, usually composed, jumped up in surprise. It was a scene that revealed the extent of my sister's issues. In her drunken state, she blurted out, "I'm tired of seeing you two always together. It's okay for him to spend time with me." I was furious and demanded she get her act together. Even my parents, usually gentle, expressed unprecedented anger. My father, who had once adored my sister, was visibly disgusted. "I didn't raise a child who would attack a man in his sleep," he declared sternly. "I'll never forget this." Despite my sister's tearful apologies once she sobered up, my father remained resolute. "Your actions when drunk reveal your true feelings. I can't trust anything you say anymore." With that, my parents disowned her. It was a painful but necessary decision. Meanwhile, I discovered I was pregnant for the first time shortly before this turbulent New Year's Eve. Since then, I've given birth to 3 children, including twins, making me a mother of 4 by the age of 34. Life with 4 children is chaotic, walls scribbled with crayons, daily struggles with clothes and toothbrushing, but seeing their sleeping faces each night makes it all worthwhile. My parents adore their grandchildren, often visiting to help with childcare. Josh, too, is deeply involved. Despite the challenges, he handles the chaos with a smile, even as he worries about his thinning hair from constant hair pulling during piggyback rides. I find it amusing and endearing to see Josh grappling with hair loss. With his promotion and improved salary, he could afford treatments, but I secretly enjoy watching him embrace fatherhood in all its messy glory. Our home is far from quiet and calm. It's lively and noisy, but I couldn't be happier. "Hey, Judy. What's wrong?" It was a cold day, with Christmas songs playing everywhere in the city. I stopped to admire a tree ornament that caught my eye. My husband, his breath visible in the chilly air, turned his head to look at me from a few steps ahead. He smiled softly, his ears red from the cold. I adored the way he looked at me. Nothing. Let's go home and have dinner. I made hot stew for this especially cold day. Sounds great. Laughing, we held hands and walked down the street. From somewhere, a familiar Christmas song reached my ears. My name is Judy, and what I'm about to tell you is a rather strange Christmas miracle I experienced a few years ago, along with the story leading up to it. You're late. Before I could respond, my husband Dan's anger hit me like a wave. Where have you been? I just went to the closest deli, I replied. It was mid-December, and it felt like it was about to snow. His cuss words chased me out into the cold without my coat just a short time ago. Are you trying to fool me? I'm the breadwinner of this household. When I come home, I expect a proper dinner to be ready and served. Can't you even manage such an easy task? He scolded me harshly in front of the dinner table. No hot sauce? How come you're so lazy about it? There's no way to eat chicken wings without it. Don't mess with me. I had rushed out of the apartment with my wallet and came back with the hot sauce, gasping for breath. His irritation only grew. Deli? Are you crazy? Isn't it cheaper to buy at a supermarket? He pointed at the hot sauce and rolled his eyes. You have no sense of budgeting. I couldn't resist retorting, of course, I buy groceries at the supermarket, but it's far away. I told you earlier, I forgot to buy it today. Anyway, you get upset if the food gets cold. That's why I went to the closest shop. I did forget to add it to my shopping list and had run out. But I was sure the chicken wings tasted fine even without it. I didn't understand why he was so angry about it. His anger didn't cool down at all. Where's your apology? I did apologize earlier, didn't I? What's with your attitude? You're the one who. My retort added fuel to the fire, and he continued throwing his temper at me for another hour. Who wants such stale food now? In the end, he flipped the plate of chicken wings and went out to get dinner elsewhere. A few days later, I went to clean my parents' house, which was up for sale, and stopped by to visit an old lady in the neighborhood whom I called Grandma. Listen, Roma, your prediction was off for the first time. I didn't predict anything, Grandma, who had cared for me since I was a little girl, said, laughing ambiguously. No way. Everything you predicted since I was a kid came true. If they weren't predictions, then prophecies, I said with a wry smile. Remember when you told me not to go to the mall? There was a lightning strike, and it almost burnt down. Another time, you insisted I go out when I wanted to stay home, and my house got robbed. If I had been home, I would have faced the robber for sure. I still got chills remembering it. The robber was caught later with a knife in his pocket. What if I had been home that day? Grandma's predictions often came true, like she was a real prophet. Hey, Grandma. Yes. Even though she said it was all in my mind or just a coincidence, she listened when my voice became serious. I don't think I would have been prepared for my mom's illness if you hadn't told me. She was my only family, and you gave her peace of mind by telling her I'd be blessed with something special one Christmas not far away. My mom was relieved to know I'd have a bright future before she left me. She told me about it in her hospital bed, and it was a ray of hope for her. Seeing her content about it was a sign of her love for me. That's why when Dan proposed to me on Christmas Day, I thought it was just as you predicted. I met him through a mutual friend. He seemed like a humble and gentle guy back then. But once we got married, he turned into an arrogant husband. Just like the hot sauce incident, he got upset over trivial matters. He complained the food was too cold or the salad was too lukewarm, even though he was the one who let it sit while he played on his phone. He criticized everything I did, from cleaning the apartment to washing clothes. Nothing I did was up to his liking, which made me feel trapped and suffocated. I don't want to go back home to him, I whined to Grandma, feeling a sting in my nose. Now it's almost sunset. Don't you have to go back and cook dinner? She glanced at the sky and rushed me, though I was slow to move. Feeling softly rejected, I stood up lazily. You're going to be okay as long as you stand your ground. Even though you'll have struggles, you're going to be happy one day. You'll have a Christmas that will make you jump up and down in joy. So just live straight and truthfully. God is watching. I quickly turned around at her words that softened my heavy heart. Is it a prophecy? Let's see. I'm just an old woman, she said with another ambiguous smile, baffling me. Let's see if I put more effort. Dan might change. I tried to shift my mood, thinking it might have been too early to judge her original prediction. But then it was dinner, massages, ironing his shirt. Dan's hostility toward me only got worse. It wasn't even a year since we got married, but it became normal for him to order me around. Instead of a single kind word, he was constantly grumpy and overbearing. "Who do you think you are?" he snapped at me one night. "What did I do? You don't have the decency to welcome me back home. Who do you think you were to hang around outside until now? I have to warm up my food in a microwave. God darn you." His menace made me sigh. "I told you, right? I had a co-op meeting tonight. I even left a note on the table for you." "Shut up. That's not an excuse for lazy cooking." "What do you mean? I didn't cut corners. I prepared the main dish and sides as usual. If it's not freshly cooked, it's called cutting corners." His logic was messed up. I should be prioritized before anyone and anything. I've been feeding you. You're my wife. You must obey me. "That's crazy," I said, stunned by his incomprehensible demand. "You have no family and relatives and can't live on your own. A scum like you should shut up and just worship me. If you can't, I'll divorce you," he smirked. It seemed to me that he was releasing his stress by making me obey him. "Anyway, give me a foot massage." I tried my best to restrain myself from snapping back at him. He would just become angrier anyway. Most of all, I had nowhere to go in the midst of sleet at night. So I sat down on the floor to give him the massage. My life continued like this until one day, I fainted from excruciating pain in the middle of grocery shopping and was taken to the hospital by ambulance. "I don't understand," I murmured, my mind going blank as my doctor explained my condition. "This virus is transmitted by sexual intercourse. I had your husband tested as well, and both of you have it. You didn't realize it because there were no symptoms. As far as I can tell, you need surgery. I'm very sorry to say this, but I think the chance of conceiving in the future seems extremely unlikely." Dan followed the doctor hurriedly as he left. "I can't have a baby," I repeated to myself. As I absorbed the news, my blank mind slowly filled with darkness. I needed to know more. I tried to follow my doctor and Dan on wobbly legs. "Wait, doctor, Dan." But I froze when I heard their conversation. "So must everyone out there get tested?" "Exactly. They must be treated all at once. Otherwise, there's no point. It keeps coming back to you. Would they know what the test is for?" "Of course," my doctor replied, growing irritated. Listening with despair, I realized the bottom line. Dan had at least 3 girlfriends and was still seeing them. I complained to a picture of my mom in an empty room. I had hoped, even though he's not a good husband now, he might change once we have a baby. I kept Grandma's words about eventual happiness like a good luck charm. But I guess I was wrong. In fact, Dan seemed to only care about his own health. He was diligent about his condition but never showed any concern for me. Having lost my parents, I had a strong longing to have my own baby. I hoped for a happy family with a husband, children, and me. Tears rained down on the picture of my mom in my hands. "Mom," I sobbed, covering my mouth with my fingers. Suddenly, Dan appeared. "What are you wasting your time for? You haven't prepared dinner yet. Here are the divorce papers. This is your punishment for neglecting your master and making a fuss." He noisily entered the room and threw the papers at my head as I sat down. "You are irritatingly depressing. I'm ready to divorce you anytime, no problem for me. You are the one who's going to be in trouble, right? Instead of slacking, do your duty if you don't want a divorce." "I'm not slacking." "Oh wait, there's one more punishment. I'm not giving you living expenses this month." He looked happy, smirking as he came closer. "I'm giving you a chance to reflect and change your attitude. Know your place. If you disobey me, a divorce." When he finished his tirade, he left the room looking refreshed. I stared at the divorce papers, feeling my emotions cool down. "Mom, I've decided." Wiping my tears from the picture frame, I spoke to my smiling mother. "Watch over me." I kept quiet and continued living with Dan for a while. He treated me like a servant and took out his fits of anger on me. I argued back occasionally but mostly passed the days in silence. One day, during another tantrum over cold stew and lukewarm salad, I sighed internally and decided to act on my plan. "If I don't obey you, you're getting a divorce, right?" "Right. If you don't want me to leave you, reflect on your stupidity," he sneered, leaning back in his chair. "You're a bit weak upstairs, aren't you?" "What the?" He fluttered his eyes in surprise at my reply. What did you just say? You repeat the same thing every time. Do you know what vocabulary is? You only utter the word divorce over and over. Your lack of vocabulary is quite sad. What the heck? Let's get a divorce. It's totally fine with me. I'll be a stranger to you, just as you wish. What the, are you serious? I smiled and said my farewell. His mouth hung open, and he even forgot to get angry as usual. I've already moved all my necessary things out of here. If there's anything you don't need, just throw it away. Goodbye. I shuffled off the apron I had bought and left. When I got married, I folded the apron lightly, placed it gently in front of Dan, and put the house keys on top of it. I looked at him one last time, then left the house with my pre-packed suitcase. What the heck is going on? He yelled, snapping out of his confusion. I could care less. Yay, I'm free, I thought, pretending not to hear anything. With a refreshed feeling, I made my way lightly to my parents' house where I decided to live again. A year later, the divorce was finalized, yet Dan continued contacting me. You were sorry, weren't you? I'll take you back if you apologize. A wife should. His texts were relentless. But I turned off notifications and ignored them, something I'd never done during our marriage. After much persistence from him, I decided to have a final face-to-face meeting at his parents' house. Why have you been ignoring me? Dan asked sensibly, trying to behave in front of his parents. I've been texting you all this time, but you never replied once. Oh yeah, I turned off notifications from you. Why? It was too annoying. Me? Annoying? Yes, you. So what do you want to talk about? His face slowly turned red with anger as I answered in a deliberately annoyed manner. What's with your attitude in front of my parents? What the heck is wrong with you? He finally shouted louder, but then remembered where he was and uttered an apology that he had never made in our marriage. I thought to myself, wow, amazing. He knows how to apologize. I tried my best to resist the urge to make fun of it and prompted him onward. What do you need to talk to your ex-wife about? Hold on, why are you acting so strange? Aren't you struggling after the divorce? How are you living now? He sounded concerned, yet he never came to check on me even though he knew where I was. I didn't mind getting back together if that's what you want. Doesn't that make you happy? He asked. Not at all. I almost laughed at his overconfidence. It doesn't make me happy and doesn't help me in any way. I'm making enough income to support myself. Besides, the living expenses you gave me were only $500 a month. It wasn't enough for what we needed. I mean, you're the one struggling to manage without me, right? The cost I was covering for you is gone, and I'm much more comfortable being alone now. I don't understand the point of getting back together after being free. Puzzled by my casual attitude, he remained unsettled in front of his parents. Listen, Dan, stop acting like a kid who got caught doing mischief and calm down. There's no point in trying to make yourself look good. They know all your secrets. What secrets? I sighed and decided to reveal the truth. You're mistaken about me. I wasn't just a housewife. I told you that I used to live abroad because of my late father's work, right? I used the German I learned back then to translate at home. There were many materials on the bookshelves, you know. I didn't care for those. Those were materials and manuscripts before translation. You never touched them since you had no interest, right? Thanks to that, I was able to hide some equipment to record you. Wait. He was stunned by the word recording. It was his father who presented the evidence. See, all your secrets, like how you used to treat me, are out now. Your parents were in tears watching this and apologized to me. They are ashamed to have raised a son who treated me horribly. Well, being under the spotlight almost made him run for the hills, but his mother grabbed him and made him sit again. She signaled me with her eyes, and I pulled out the papers. These are copies of our divorce papers. There are parts marked with a red circle, which I pointed out to Dan. You know them, don't you? No way. It was understandable for him to be in shock. What I pointed to were the witness signatures, names of people he knew very well. Actually, there wasn't enough space. You had more than 2 girlfriends, right? Wait a sec. No more waiting. Before I could continue, a resentful voice echoed. You never told us about the STD. We only had a relationship with you. That means you brought it in from somewhere else, didn't you? What am I? A fling. Didn't you say we'd get married one day? That's a statement only a bachelor should say. Oh no. We watched the video too. You are a villain, not only to us but to all women. You are the number one public enemy. You are finished. Surrounded by his girlfriends, Dan crumbled to the floor. His parents sighed exaggeratedly. I had a private detective look into his girlfriends and secretly contacted them. Of course, I had told my ex-in-laws the whole story too. The result was this chaos. Your game is up now. There was a strong request from his parents that their son needed punishment. All his girlfriends and I demanded compensation from him. He worked for a company owned by a family member of his mother, so the payments were deducted from his payroll to prevent him from escaping. He was forcibly taken back to his parents' home and under their strict supervision faced a long period of compensation payments. 6 years have passed since then. Hey Judy, what's wrong? It's a cold day when Christmas songs play everywhere in the city. I stopped to look at a tree ornament that caught my eye. My husband, whose white breath clings in the air, turns his head to look at me from a few steps ahead. He's smiling softly, his ears red from the cold. The little girl in his arms also has rosy cheeks. I adore them so much. Grandma's prediction is actually amazing, I murmured. My current husband is surprisingly the brother of one of Dan's girlfriends. I hit it off with the girlfriends afterward and sometimes hang out with them. I met him by chance, and he gently soothed my depression. It's really a strange story. If it wasn't for what happened with Dan, I'm sure I wouldn't have met my current husband. So that's what Grandma meant when she said I'd struggle but be happy, I mused. Once again, I was amazed by Grandma's prediction. Moreover, after we got married, I got pregnant, which was said to be extremely unlikely. I remember getting sick on Christmas Day and being rushed to the emergency room, where the doctor indicated I was pregnant. I was literally jumping up and down with my husband, and the annoyed nurse scolded us to keep calm and rest. It was a true Christmas miracle. This time of year makes me reflect deeply. I've been hurt a lot by Dan, but now I'm so happy. Mommy, I came out of my thoughts when my daughter left my husband's arms and clung to me in her fuzzy coat. Nothing. Let's go home and have dinner. It's hot stew for an especially cold day. I've already prepared it. Sounds great, yay. Laughing, we held hands and walked down the street. From somewhere, a familiar Christmas song reached my ears.
Is the funeral over? Hurry back home. Lori's urgent voice pierced through the somber air of the cemetery. Today marked Alyssa's birthday party, a day of celebration juxtaposed against the recent loss of Shell, my beloved daughter who departed this world at the tender age of 5. My mother-in-law's call came as a stark reminder of life's relentless march forward. Even in the face of heart-wrenching grief, she hadn't attended her own granddaughter's funeral. Instead, her focus was on Alyssa's birthday festivities. The request bewildered me, stirring a mixture of anger and sorrow within. I couldn't help but wonder if grief had clouded Lori's judgment. How could she expect me to simply transition from bidding farewell to my precious Shell to attending a birthday party? The raw emotion spurred me to action, prompting a phone call that would hopefully provide some solace. My name is Rel, a 33-year-old housewife. My husband Milo, just 2 years my senior, and I were introduced through mutual friends 6 years ago. Our union blessed us with a daughter, Shelley, who brought immeasurable joy into our lives. But fate dealt her a cruel hand. Shelley's health began to decline 2 years ago. Initially, it seemed like a series of minor illnesses, fevers, colds, but then came the swelling in her neck. Concerned, we sought medical help, only to be met with ominous words. You need to get tested at a larger hospital immediately. That's what the doctor told me, I whispered, the words heavy with disbelief as they echoed in the sterile hospital room. After enduring a battery of tests at the general hospital and an agonizing wait, the diagnosis was delivered like a crushing blow. Malignant lymphoma, a cruel manifestation of childhood cancer. My world plunged into darkness as I pleaded desperately with the doctor, clinging to the hope that it was all a horrible mistake. This can't be true, can it? I implored, my voice choked with tears. Despite the presence of medical professionals surrounding me, I felt utterly alone as waves of grief washed over me. The need for immediate hospitalization was non-negotiable, and though we rushed home to gather essentials, my tears seemed unending. Milo, my rock in this storm of uncertainty, shed silent tears of his own yet remained steadfast in his encouragement. We have to be strong. Shelley will beat this. he urged, his voice a beacon of unwavering determination. With trembling hands, I signed consent forms for procedures I could scarcely comprehend, my mind reeling from the weight of the decisions before me. The arduous journey of treatment lay ahead, a path fraught with IV trips, blood draws, transfusions, and the brutal onslaught of chemotherapy. In the face of this relentless onslaught, I made the heart-wrenching decision to leave my part-time job behind, dedicating every moment to Shelley's side in the hospital. Milo, though tethered to his own obligations, made every effort to support us, his visits a brief respite from the harsh reality of our circumstances. "You need to take care of yourself too, Michelle," he insisted, his concern a reminder of the delicate balance between strength and vulnerability in the face of adversity. As Milo stepped up to handle the hospital visits, I took on the responsibilities at home or stole moments to rest, preserving what little strength I had left. In those initial days within the sterile hospital walls, Shelley's tears were a constant companion, her small frame racked with the unfamiliarity of her surroundings. Yet with time, she acclimated to the rhythm of hospital life, her cries gradually diminishing. The nurses marveled at her resilience, showering her with praise as she endured injections without a single whimper. In those moments, I too found solace in their accolades. Despite the toll chemotherapy exacted on her fragile body, manifesting in the loss of her hair and a pervasive sense of weakness, Shelley remained remarkably stoic, her infectious smile a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. Her love for drawing became a source of joy for us all, her sketches capturing moments of fleeting happiness amid the sterile hospital environment. One day, as Milo and I stood at her bedside, Shelley proudly presented a drawing from her sketchbook, an ode to our family unit. "It's beautiful, Shelley," we praised, our hearts swelling with pride at her talent and resilience. Her chatter, a constant stream of energy, infused our weary spirits with renewed strength. However, there were moments of setback. During periods of low white blood cell counts, she was confined to the isolation of a sterile room, her fragile immune system requiring utmost protection. Yet, as her health gradually improved, we were granted the precious gift of a few days at home. "I wanted to go to preschool," Shelley declared eagerly upon returning home, her excitement palpable. Witnessing her frolic with friends, her laughter echoing through the halls, filled our hearts with boundless joy. Yet, amidst the moments of respite, reminders of her illness lingered. During a visit from my mother, as Shelley reveled in the comfort of her grandmother's embrace, her radiant energy faltered, replaced by a look of discomfort. "Mom, it smells like home," she remarked, her voice trailing off as a sudden onset of pain gripped her small frame. "Let me check, sweetheart. Oh, you're running a slight fever. Wait here. I'll make some soup," I instructed Shelley gently, tucking her into bed before hastily attending to the remaining chores around the house. The comforting aroma of simmering soup filled the kitchen as I busied myself, striving to maintain some semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos of our lives. Just as I was settling into the rhythm of my tasks, the doorbell shattered the tranquility of the moment. Peering at the monitor, my heart sank at the sight of Lori's figure on the doorstep. A pang of regret surged within me for not simply ignoring the intrusion. "Lori, what brings you here?" I managed to muster a polite greeting, though inwardly, I braced myself for the inevitable confrontation. "Do I need a reason to visit my son's house?" Her retort carried a sharp edge, but I bit back the urge to respond with a sharp retort that danced on the tip of my tongue. Instead, I maintained a stoic silence, unwilling to engage in the futile exchange of barbs. In any other circumstance, a visit from a caring mother-in-law might have been a welcome gesture. However, Lori was anything but kind. From the outset of our marriage, she had made it her mission to belittle and berate me at every turn. Whether it was my lack of higher education or superficial critiques about my appearance, her words cut deep, leaving scars that lingered long after she had departed. During the brief respite provided by my father-in-law's presence, Lori's tirades were somewhat tempered, but with his passing, her attacks escalated, leaving me to weather the storm alone. From petty acts of sabotage to relentless comparisons with her beloved daughter, Elisa, Lori's hostility knew no bounds. Eliza has a son, Jace, in second grade. She would often boast, the disparity in her treatment of our children a stark reminder of her favoritism. As we gathered for holiday celebrations, the contrast in Lori's demeanor towards Jace and Shelley was glaringly evident, further fueling the resentment that simmered beneath the surface. Despite being her own granddaughter, it seemed that Lori couldn't muster an ounce of affection for Shelley, all because of her disdain for me, her daughter-in-law. As I stirred the soup, lost in my thoughts, Lori barged in uninvited from next door with an air of self-importance. "Shelley has a fever," she announced abruptly, her intrusion disrupting the peace of the moment. I couldn't help but silently wish she would just leave if she had nothing constructive to contribute. Yet her unwelcome presence lingered, casting a shadow over the already tense atmosphere. "She's quite frail, isn't she? I wonder where she gets it from. Certainly not our family. Your father had cancer, didn't he?" Lori's words, laced with thinly veiled contempt, cut through the air like a knife. I bristled at the implication, my patience wearing thin. "Yes, Lori. I've explained this to you numerous times. Shelley's illness isn't hereditary," I responded tersely, my frustration bubbling to the surface. My father's battle with cancer during my high school years was a painful memory, but malignant lymphoma, Shelley's diagnosis, wasn't genetically linked, except in specific virus-related instances. Exasperated, I couldn't help but wonder if Lori's repeated ignorance stemmed from senility or simply a stubborn refusal to acknowledge the truth. With a dismissive glance in Shelley's direction, she hurled her venomous remarks before finally taking her leave, leaving a bitter taste in her wake. As the door closed behind her, I turned my attention to Shelley, her innocent face marred by the lingering toxicity of Lori's presence. With a heavy heart, I muttered a few sarcastic comments of my own before retreating from the room. What was the purpose of her visit? I wondered bitterly. Just boredom, perhaps. For a year, Shelley's life was a delicate balance between the confines of the clean room and fleeting moments of respite at home. As the months passed and her blood counts gradually improved, we dared to hope that the worst was behind us. Finally, after a year and a half of relentless treatment, Shelley completed her regimen, and we rejoiced at the prospect of bringing her home for good. With her health on the upswing, Shelley eagerly returned to preschool, her infectious energy lighting up every room she entered. We celebrated this newfound freedom with a family trip to the aquarium, marveling at her boundless enthusiasm as she explored the wonders of the underwater world. Despite the challenges we had faced, I held on to the belief that Shelley would overcome it all. But as she turned 5, our worst nightmares materialized. A relapse. The ensuing months were a blur of agonizing treatments, spinal injections, radiation therapy, and relentless battles against pneumonia and high fevers. Desperate to spare her from further suffering, I underwent a bone marrow transplant, clinging to the hope that it would be enough to save her. But fate had other plans. Despite my best efforts, my body's betrayal dashed any hope of a reprieve for Shelley. With heavy hearts, we faced the grim reality of the doctor's prognosis. There was nothing more to be done. Further treatment would only prolong her suffering. It was a devastating verdict, a stark reminder of the limited time we had left. In the face of such adversity, we made a solemn decision to bring Shelley home, determined to fill her remaining days with love and laughter. Every moment became precious as we embarked on a journey to fulfill her every wish. From preschool sports days to playful outings, we savored each fleeting moment, cherishing the radiant joy that Shelley brought to everyone she encountered. And amidst it all, my mother's unwavering presence provided a source of comfort and solace, a reminder that we were not alone in our grief. I had made a vow to myself never to shed tears in front of Shelley, but sometimes the weight of our reality proved too heavy to bear, and despite my efforts, tears would slip past my resolve. "Mom, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Shelley's concern for me, even in the midst of her own suffering, never failed to touch my heart. I clung to the hope that this period of happiness would stretch into eternity, praying fervently for a miracle to intervene and spare us from the inevitable. Yet, despite our prayers, the answer remained elusive. Despite her outward appearance of health, the truth lay in the worsening results of her blood tests, a relentless reminder of the cruel reality we faced. As Shelley's condition continued to deteriorate, her once lively spirit confined to the prison of her own frailty, I found solace in the belief that her 6th birthday was within reach, a beacon of hope in the darkness that threatened to consume us. But fate had other plans. Like sand slipping through our fingers, Shelley's grasp on life grew increasingly tenuous, her strength waning with each passing day. As her breaths grew labored and her struggle became more pronounced, the doctor's somber words hung heavy in the air, a harbinger of the inevitable. "Prepare yourselves," they cautioned, their words a cruel echo of the anguish that reverberated within my own heart. In that moment of devastating clarity, I found myself unable to hold back the flood of tears that threatened to consume me. In a haze of grief and disbelief, I turned to Shelley, my voice trembling as I struggled to find the words to convey the unbearable truth that lay before us. "I love you, and Shelley, I love you too." Shelley's words, though labored, carried a weight of love that transcended her weakened state. As the early hours of dawn approached, the urgency of the situation intensified, and the doctor's frantic efforts to revive her filled the room with a sense of desperation. Shelley, in her final moments, clung to consciousness, her voice a fragile whisper echoing the depths of her heart. With every ounce of strength she could muster, she uttered her last words, a testament to the unwavering bond that united our family in love. Milo and I, our hearts heavy with sorrow, cradled her fragile form in our arms, willing her to find peace in the embrace of sleep one final time. But despite her valiant struggle, Shelley slipped away from us, leaving behind an unfillable void in our lives. "Shelley, please, wake up," I pleaded, my voice choked with grief, as her hand grew cold in mine, a silent testament to the cruel reality of our loss. Yet even in the midst of our anguish, the world continued to turn, and the relentless tide of funeral arrangements and preparations pulled me away from the luxury of mourning. As we navigated the somber halls of the funeral home, my heart heavy with sorrow, Laurie's callous disregard for the gravity of the moment pierced through the haze of my grief. "You're not coming," I retorted, my patience worn thin by her callous indifference. But her response, laden with self-righteousness, only fueled my anger further. Struggling to contain my rising frustration, I rejected her hollow demands and, in a moment of clarity, severed ties with her toxic presence. With Laurie's number blocked and my resolve strengthened, I reached out to someone who offered solace amidst the storm of emotions threatening to engulf me. The somber atmosphere of Shelley's funeral was a testament to the impact she had on the lives of those around her. Doctors who had fought tirelessly for her, friends from preschool, and our own loved ones all gathered to bid her a final farewell. Tears flowed freely as memories of Shelley filled the air, a poignant reminder of the love she had inspired in so many. In a gesture of love and remembrance, Shelley's coffin was adorned with her favorite sunflowers, a vibrant tribute to her spirit. Her friends, with hearts heavy with grief, placed heartfelt letters inside, a testament to the profound impact she had on their lives. Through it all, Milo stood as a pillar of strength, his quiet dignity a beacon of resilience for our grieving family. Hours later, as Milo and I stood before his parents' house, the weight of our loss hung heavy in the air. Laurie's desperate plea for help fell on deaf ears as we entered, her presence a stark reminder of the rift that had torn our family apart. In the living room, Eliza and her family, along with a few relatives, awaited us, their expressions a mix of sorrow and disbelief. "I'm so sorry, Rel. We had no idea today was Shell's funeral." Alyssa's words carried a sincerity that touched my heart, a stark contrast to the callous indifference of Laurie's actions. In the aftermath of the funeral, I had reached out to Eliza, seeking solace in the bond we shared. Despite the strains of Laurie's toxicity, Eliza had always been a source of comfort and support, her genuine concern for Shelley a testament to the depth of our relationship. As sisters in all but blood, our connection remained unbreakable, even amidst the turmoil that surrounded us. Alyssa's return from abroad had coincided with her birthday, a serendipitous overlap that had tragically coincided with Shelley's funeral. In our haste and grief, we had entrusted Lori with the task of communicating with her side of the family, only to be met with betrayal and negligence. Alyssa's shock at Lori's absence from the funeral served as a sobering reminder of the fractures within our family that had been laid bare by Shelley's untimely passing. Upon our return home, Alyssa reached out to me, only to discover that Shelley's burial had already taken place. Nonetheless, they waited patiently for our arrival, their presence a source of comfort amidst the somber atmosphere that permeated our home. Shelley's absence weighed heavily upon us all, her memory a haunting presence in every corner of the room. As we mourned our loss, Lori's callous words cut through the silence like a knife. "You can always have another child," she uttered callously, her lack of empathy sending shockwaves through the room. In a moment of righteous fury, Alyssa seized the cake meant for her birthday celebration and hurled it at Lori, her action a visceral expression of her disgust at Lori's heartless demeanor. With steely determination, Alyssa led Lori to the shower room, her intentions clear as she doused her with water, washing away the toxicity that tainted her spirit. Amidst the chaos, I weakly explained Lori's motives, her insistence on rushing me back for Alyssa's birthday party preparations, a stark reminder of her misplaced priorities. The relatives, appalled by Lori's behavior, voiced their disdain for her callousness. Returning from the shower room, Lori stood before us, her drenched appearance a physical manifestation of the contempt that surrounded her. "But it's Alyssa's birthday party," Lori attempted to justify herself, her feeble excuse met with incredulity and anger. "Your birthday party?" Alyssa's voice dripped with scorn. "How dare you call Rel back for such trivial matters? If Shelley meant so little to you, how could you disregard Milo's grief over her loss? Why didn't you attend your own granddaughter's funeral?" Unable to conjure a valid response, Lori's excuses fell silent, her guilt laid bare for all to see. In a moment of raw honesty, Chase, Alyssa's son, broke the tense silence that enveloped us all. "Grandma, you don't really love your grandchildren, do you?" His soft words reverberated through the room, cutting through the facade of familial unity with a piercing clarity. Lori's feeble attempt to reassure him fell flat, her words betraying the stark truth that lay beneath her carefully crafted facade. "That's not true. I love you, Jate. You're healthy and Alyssa's child," she stammered, her desperation palpable in the face of Jace's innocent inquiry. But her feeble excuse only served to stoke the flames of anger that had long simmered within Milo. "So Shelley, my child, wasn't loved because she was ill, and your daughter-in-law's daughter." His voice trembled with emotion, the weight of his grief finally finding release in a torrent of righteous indignation. The condemnation of Lori's actions came not only from Milo, but from her own family as well. "She's always been crazy," her brother remarked bitterly, recounting past grievances that painted a damning portrait of Lori's character. As the truth of Lori's betrayal came to light, the rift between us widened, the bonds of family strained beyond repair. With heavy hearts, we bid farewell to those who had once been a part of our lives, their departure leaving a void that echoed with the pain of betrayal. "We're leaving," Milo announced, his voice heavy with resignation. "Let's talk again some other time." We exchanged hugs with those who remained, their presence a bittersweet reminder of the ties that had been severed by Lori's actions. But even as we prepared to depart, Lori's voice rang out once more, her words laden with accusation and regret. "Wait, Milo," she pleaded, her desperation evident in the trembling of her voice. "Is that why you didn't care for Shelley, my child?" "It's not like that, Milo, you know." Lori's voice quivered with sadness, her words a feeble attempt to justify her actions. "You didn't study properly, like Alyssa. You didn't listen, so you only care about those who do as you want, huh?" Milo's expression remained somber, his disappointment evident in his eyes. As I handed Lori something beside him, a pang of sorrow gripped my heart. It was a drawing of Lori, meticulously crafted by Shelley's tiny hands. In the picture, Lori was depicted with a radiant smile adorning her face. Despite everything, even though you didn't dote on Shell, she admired you. I spoke softly, the weight of my words heavy with emotion. I hated you and never saw a smile from you, but maybe Shelley saw you smiling like this. Shell was a pure and kind child. Even during her treatment, she was more concerned about me. Perhaps in her eyes, she saw a kind Lori. Lori's tears flowed freely for the first time, her fingers trembling as she clutched the drawing close to her chest. But amidst the flood of emotions, it was painfully clear that the damage had already been done. We're also leaving. I won't ever see Mom again. Alyssa's words hung heavy in the air, her resolve unyielding as she turned her back on the woman who had betrayed us all. Wait, don't leave too. Lori's desperate plea fell on deaf ears as we, united in our grief, departed from the in-laws' house, leaving behind the shattered remnants of what was once a family. In the days that followed, my uncle-in-law's family visited us, their presence a balm to our wounded spirits. Amidst prayers offered over Shelley's photo, they extended their heartfelt apologies for Lori's behavior. Yet, even as Lori appeared remorseful, clutching onto Shelley's drawing with trembling hands, the damage she had wrought could not be undone. Lori had always been troublesome. It's unlikely she'll change now. My aunt-in-law's words held a note of resignation, a testament to the deep-seated flaws that had long plagued Lori's character. In the wake of this tragic incident, other relatives followed suit, cutting ties with Lori in a collective act of solidarity. Though her loneliness may be self-inflicted, there was little room for sympathy. Her long history of erratic behavior had left scars too deep to heal, and as she faced the consequences of her actions, she would be forced to confront the weight of her regrets alone. In the aftermath of the funeral, as the whirlwind of busy days and necessary procedures subsided, the full weight of Shelley's loss crashed down upon me like a tidal wave. In the depths of my grief, I found myself engulfed by a sense of overwhelming despair, my vision clouded by tears that seemed to never cease. Milo's concern for my well-being grew with each passing day, prompting my mother to stay with us for a while, offering her comfort and support during my darkest hours. Haunted by the relentless question of whether I could have done more to save Shelley, I found myself teetering on the brink of madness, consumed by guilt and regret. But amidst the suffocating darkness that threatened to engulf me, I couldn't bring myself to entertain thoughts of ending my own life. For Shelley had fought with such tenacity until the very end, her spirit refusing to surrender to the cruel hand fate had dealt her. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a glimmer of hope began to flicker within me once more. Finding solace in the shared experiences of other parents who had suffered similar losses, I sought refuge in the embrace of a support group where tears were shed and stories shared, offering a semblance of comfort in our collective grief. Reconnecting with Eliza and engaging in heartfelt conversations with her served as a source of solace, a reminder that I was not alone in my pain. And then, amidst the darkness, a beacon of light emerged in the form of a furry companion. Milo and I welcomed the puppy into our home, its boundless energy and unwavering affection serving as a gentle reminder of the love and joy that Shelley had brought into our lives. In the wag of its tail and the sparkle in its eyes, I saw echoes of our bright child, Shelley, her spirit living on in the playful antics of our new furry friend. Do you draw in heaven, chatter endlessly, and smile with that infectious joy of yours? I whispered into the ether, my words a silent prayer carried on the wings of hope. Someday we'll be together again, but until then, wait for me. And if by some miracle our paths cross once more, I long to see your radiant smile lighting up the heavens above. As Shelley's mother, I made a solemn vow to honor her memory by living a life filled with purpose and meaning, a life that she would be proud of. And though the pain of her absence may never fully subside, I found solace in the knowledge that her spirit would forever guide me on this journey called life.